Hi guys, this is Raj. I am the founder of Zaggle, a B2B SaaS Fintech company.
This conversation is an amazing journey of understanding how business environment in India has evolved over the decades. As your host, Akshay Dutt talks to Raj, a serial entrepreneur who has been building businesses since the 1990s. Raj is currently the founder of Zaggle, which is among the very few fintechs that is profitable. Zaggle helps companies to digitize and optimize their payment and expense workflows using AI ML and is on a mission to be the premier neobank for businesses. In this conversation, Raj shares his multiple journeys of finding market opportunities and how he scaled up each of his ventures. Listen on, and if you like such insightful conversations with disruptive startup founders, then do subscribe to the Founder Thesis podcast on any audio streaming app.
I graduated in 92. Then I went and did my MBA from Ford School of Management. And while I was in Ford, I started a company called SSL Limited. While I was still in Ford when I started that company, went ahead, did build that company into it was in financial services, build it to be a very decent sized company. After Ford, we had the opportunity, to get placed. So I appeared for the interviews and I was shortlisted in Economic Times. But suddenly somewhere that कीड़ा in me was, किसी और के लिए क्या काम करें? Why don't I try my own? Though I had a standing offer from Economic Times, it was considered good. My interest was in stock market and I thought it is beautiful for me to carry on that path. But somehow, somewhere, something triggered because I came back to Hyderabad and went to my hometown. There, my uncle runs a very large factory. I went and met him. The moment I met him, I don't know, something happened, something changed, came back and said, I am not going to join anywhere and I'm going to start a company. And when I started the company, it was to basically in the financial services because interest was always financial services. And we started getting for these large companies, we would arrange loans facilitation like today how a investment banker does. So basically debt, corporate syndication, etc., is what I was doing. The company.
Did you do trust building? Because this is a business that runs on trust, right? And typically the traditional players used to be CA firms who would have that long relationship of trust and they would tell their clients कि मैं loan arrange करा दूंगा, and then they would know someone in a government bank who would get the file passed. How did you enter into this kind of a...
So I would say, to be very honest, what I did was at that time, we started with fixed deposits to raise fixed deposits for companies. So what I would do is, so we used to do a lot of tricks. I don't know if I can very openly talk about those tricks for any entrepreneur out there who is going to listen to this podcast. I would definitely want to at least pass on a couple of tricks. So let's say, for example, what I would do is I will convince my customers when they are writing their 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs checks. I would say, please do not mention any date on it. And this will get posted in 2 or 3 days. And I will collect all those checks, go to the company and tell them that I've got about 60 lakhs of checks with me. My problem is that you are giving 5% and I want 7%. So they would also act very hard and they will say, no, companies who want to raise money, they will relent, right? So I will hold those checks for 2-3 days. 3 days later, their call will come. Their call will come and say, "Arey Raj, wo kuch aaye the, aap baat kiya tha, aap aaye nahi, you have not come back." I would say, "Who else has offered us 7.5%, 8%? So we can't, I'm sorry." And eventually they will relent, they will do a little bit, but they will give me that 7.5% margin. And I used to pass on 5. So I used to make 2.5%, which was good money. For me, I would do, I would say tens of crores in a month.
So this was like debt, basically, like
debt, fixed deposit debt.
What today people do, like debt mutual fund. That time they used to
yes, it was correct. Mutual fund came in 95, so this was just before that, and it came and I was able to raise a lot of money for a lot of companies. And the ability, people used to say, if anybody you want to earn 2 or 3% extra on your total income, go to this guy. This guy is based out of Ashok Vihar in New Delhi. Go and talk to him. So I would get people from all over India who would say that I want to park this much money. And in 2 years, I was able to do about, I think, 125 odd crores is what was my the second year turnover.
And essentially, you had an HNI clientele base for whom you would.
बनता ही चला गया यार, बनता ही, मतलब हमें कोई जरूरत नहीं पड़ा. Word of mouth spread like this thing. Then one
Yeah,
or
everyone
two
wants more return on
yes,
money.
more this thing. One or two where he said my friend's uncle, my uncle's uncle, my unka beta unka, ये बनता चला गया. You know, within, and you know, I was very prompt at servicing. Very prompt at servicing. So, मतलब, it was great, and I had direct connect. So it was, and I was MBA educated from a very good family. Brother being IRTS officer, father being a secretary. That time, I think he had retired.
I think here being South Indian would have worked to your advantage because people assume South Indians are honest.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Means you couldn't be more true. The thing which worked in my favor was South Indian family, conservative family. These will always tell the truth. Okay, so companies also used to feel the same. Clients also used to feel the same because companies also was run by all, I would say, as in all, let's say North Indians, and here it will be all clients also are North Indians, right? So North Indian would not believe a North Indian, right? But North Indian would believe us. So that's how, just kidding on a lighter note, but people saw that there is promise. People saw I'm able to give them a better service and a better price, and ensured that if they had any issues, I could quickly solve it. So then what happened is, while I was doing this, see, I am a very good reader of business. So my only job, if you really ask me, even in today's my company, my only job is reading the environment. I don't do anything else because I don't have a day-to-day job, right? My job is all about figuring out what possibly will hit us tomorrow, day after. And that's my job. So I have to make sure that we build a sustainable, long-term, rewarding company at any cost. So I don't look at today. I'm not tactical. I always look at tomorrow, and tomorrow will always remain tomorrow because tomorrow will never come. That is my story all along. And what I realized is that suddenly companies which were offering 5, 7, 8% as commissions started going as high as 12, 13%. So their fixed deposit rate would be 10%, and they would give 12% commission over and above that. So that rattled me for a couple of days.
So the cost of funds to the company would be 22%.
22-23%. And slowly I saw that some of the companies were even willing to give 15 because they wanted money to come in so that whatever outstanding fixed deposits were there, they could redeem. So this was a cycle which went, that money came in and went for redemption of the earlier money which they had picked up.
Yeah, for all this scheme.
On it, that extra this thing. So that made me feel nervous. And I thought that this possibly something is going to happen. And then I had a chance meeting with an executive director in Delhi, being a South Indian Kannadiga. So I told him, sir, this. So he said, no, I'm seeing a lot of stress in my accounts. So I said, wow, in your business? He said, yes, there are defaults starting. So that went, and that made me think as to what's going wrong. And then quickly, because see, this habit of seeing a little bit ahead has always held me in good stead. See, there is a negative to it also, because if you are always thinking of tomorrow, there are a lot of things which you are missing today. So this is my learning also, that you should have a balanced review of today and tomorrow. And then what happened is I figured out somehow that I want to get international exposure. If I don't get international exposure, मैं India में थक जाऊंगा. I will not be able to really do this. And I realized that India is not there as yet in terms of financial markets. That ये business India पढ़ना, business today पढ़ना, Economic Times padna, then Wall Street. So I started figuring out that we have to do something which will get me an international exposure. So one of my friends who was in Wall Street said, why don't you come down to, US, and then we'll figure it out. So that's how my journey started. Suddenly I had gone to my hometown just to visit, because I used to go there back and forth because of a lot of HNIs. And then in that I attended one meditation program. Post that, while doing meditation, it occurred to me that I should leave India. And I came in 13 days flat. I got my visa done. I got my F1 and I zoomed off to US.
You wound up SSL,
I just slowly wound up SSL.
taking new deposits.
Not for much. So what we did was we sold the company to to another company called Patterson Securities. So when I realized that I have to go on, though the transaction eventually, if you look at it, eventually some money came in before I left for the US, but most of the money came after I was in the US. So we were able to sell that company because everybody wanted that. What is this high growth company doing? We were very famous in Delhi, in North India as well, I would say. And then South India also, we had started expanding. We had opened up an office, very ambitious. We were amazed how it was. And then while doing this meditation, when it hit me, I realized that there is more, a bigger, larger power out there. And a supreme power has guided me to do this. I came back 13 days flat. I was able to apply and got my visa and went to New York. And while completed the rest of the stuff, to maine complete kiya, shares, transfer, selling of the company, some of that stuff we had to do it to courier and other stuff, and then it was done. And that when I went to the US, I was to be very candid, a rich guy. Because वहां पे तो सारे के सारे मतलब are like hand to mouth. मतलब Indian students तो पूरे hand to mouth रहते हैं, मतलब like they will have. And I went with $25,000-$30,000 in my pocket, and so American travelers checks हुआ करते थे those days. No cards, nothing like that as we have today. So went there, did my MBA, stunts से मैंने MBA कर रहा था मैं. Even before I could complete my MBA, I was picked up by PricewaterhouseCoopers. तब वो Pricewaterhouse था. It became PricewaterhouseCoopers in 2000, but that time it was PW is how it was called. I was picked up in the MCS practice. I joined.
What is MCS?
MCS is Management Consulting Services. MCS. So MCS practice में pick किया, मेरा interview हुआ. Tom जो मेरा partner था asked me, and what got me a higher grade because of that. So the question was कि सर दो लोग इतनी बड़ी इमारत से कूदते हैं, एक मर जाता है और एक बच जाता है, क्यों? So Todd started thinking. He said, "Does it happen?" I said, "Yes. This is, you imagine, and you will jump from here and look at who will survive." No, man, you've got a good sense of humor, this, that. So he said, "What is it that you want to do?" I said, "No, I want to build a knowledge portal. I want to figure out how can we build a knowledge portal in which I am able to put all the knowledge which I have, which others have, and have it aggregated at a single place." This is what I told him. Is that you want to do something which some of these internet guys are trying to do. That the internet was not a great word. Right? It was like, it was good, but it was picking up, right? And
it was not mainstream yet.
Not mainstream at all. Not mainstream at all. And Hotmail had started, और Hotmail में सबीर भाग गया था. हम सब लोगों का Hotmail account खुल गया था 96 में. And we started. So when MCS practice में all over Europe, Americas, पूरा Europe घूमते रहे. And then we started and made a lot of money. A lot of money means I was billed at about $1,125 an hour. बहुत बुरा लगता था, and sometimes guilt feeling would come because वो सारा पैसा तो client से company को जा रहा है. मुझको क्या मिलता था? मुझको तो उतना ही मिलता था. There was no sharing, and my problem was that I needed work.
And you were doing what? Analytics based consulting? Like
पूरा BPR, business process reengineering. So MCS practice में, so you would go to a very large brand, go to them, you will tell them that you are able to correct this flaws, you would possibly be able to save about $40-50 million a year. And then we will go ahead and tell him that if you were to implement this particular softwares, possibly the saving could be much higher. So we will show them a ROI. In US, if you have a ROI of about 8-9%, it is considered very good. We will sell contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Because it used to be company-wide, country-wide, then continent-wide, then intercontinent-wide, and it would be sometimes all over the world. So you have to do a BPR across. So for me, it was beautiful learning. Amazing means amazing. But my only problem was that the work was from Monday to Thursday. So Monday to afternoon, they would ask you to go back to your base office. Friday, nobody would come to office. For me, I used to work even on Saturdays in the US. So my partner would sometimes tell me, I have received a complaint against you from the client saying that you were seen in the office on Saturday. I said, man, I was working. You're saying complaint. They should be very happy. He said, no, Raj, please understand. You are not supposed to come to office on Saturday because they will mistake you that you are taking some information away. I said, wow. I was under the impression that we have to, I'm being nice by working hard, whereas they were very clear that nothing doing. So, but for me, being a workaholic and charging $11-25 an hour, all were things which were like making me very uncomfortable. So I did 2 projects. Then third project I did was with buy.com, auditing their process. Then went to amazon.com. So did Amazon. So post Amazon, post buy.com is what I would say. When I looked at it, I asked him, what's your valuation? So he said, it's about $1 billion. कितना business करते हो कि $1 billion? That time $1 billion was about 40 rupees a dollar. So it was like 4,000 crores. I said, wow, 4,000 crores. And and that is when I thought, अगर ये कर सकता है, तो मैं तो इससे better कर सकता हूँ. And this was when my entrepreneurial kida started again. And I realized that I have to get into business. So I had a friend called Richard Maziers. Richard Maziers was a Polish immigrant into US. So both of us, me and him, started a company. So I took sabbatical, then came back to India. Basically, the idea was कि हम इंडिया में आए, इंडिया में offshore center set up करें, so that cost arbitrage we should be able to take, and then sell it in the US. Make it in India, sell it in the US was the thought. So I came down to India and then realized that I just love India. Coming back to India was a huge feeling. And slowly we started. 2001, what happened is the dot-com bust happened. So 2000 April, the dot-com bust happened. And because of that dot-com burst, if you had a company which had a dot-com attached to it, you were considered very, very bad. So I actually went through a period where no bank would even want to open my bank account because I had like a dot-com in my company.
In India, you're saying?
In India,
Okay.
in India, I'm saying. And they said, why is your company.com? Because the bust had happened in the US and it had collapsed everywhere. So I went ahead, then Richard and me decided that he will take the US part of the operations. I also wanted to get married. So I said, I'll also settle down in India and then we'll see again. And then I decided now that I want to stay back in India. And that is when we said, so Richard was very nice, very kind. We beautifully remain friends till today. And he took the US part of the company. I took the Indian part of the company. And then here along my uncle, who is a large industrialist out of Andhra Pradesh. So he said, why don't you join hands with me? So I then joined hands with him, gave 50% of my equity. What I had taken from Richard, I gave it to him. And उनसे मेरे को पूरा office space, थोड़ा पैसा वो सब मिल गया. Then that I started running a merchandising company. So अगर आप मेरे से पूछते कि 2000 Raj, would you ever run a merchandising, gifting, corporate gifting business? तो I would have laughed. मतलब laughed out aloud. मतलब loud is how I would have laughed and said, no way. Because some look hundreds of millions of dollars projects is what we were doing. And kahan ye t-shirts and all that. But I saw the potential. What I realized is I had the opportunity to set up a cement plant because I had enough money from doing my stuff plus stock market consulting, stock market plus जब तक वीजा नहीं आया था मेरा तब तक तो मेरे और ज्यादा पैसे बनते थे because we had a consulting company in between who would just keep 20% and pay the rest to me. So that was the biggest advantage which I had. And I had saved enough money, about 3-3.5 crore रुपया मैंने बचा लिया था. And I came to India with that money and then started the merchandising business. The whole idea was I could have done a steel company, I could have done a cement company, I could have done any company, any business. But I was very clear that I don't want to do any traditional business. I don't want to be part of any traditional business. I will do something where I can be known for it. And that's, if you look at it, what happened, E means energy, Yantra means machine. If you put energy in the machine, it runs. That was the idea. And we started yantra.com and yantra.com. Yantra Industries did very well. Pehle saal was a big struggle. People used to not believe that I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers. थोड़ा मेरा एक्सेंट था तब, तो एक्सेंट देख के ही समझते थे कि are you back from the US? Oh, yeah, absolutely back from the US. They did not know.
What were you going and pitching? Like you would go to,
Yes.
this was all employee gifting, like the Diwali gift, etc.
So mine was a B2C company. मतलब आप आइए मेरी वेबसाइट पे, you want to write, let's say, Akshay on your t-shirt. So I'll give you a designing software. So mine was a pure software. मतलब thought was always software. It was always behind it. And you could print Akshay, I love Akshay, or whatever you want, right? You can print, and I'll dispatch the printed t-shirt to you.
With a minimum order quantity, like this
No,
would not be for customers.
no, even one piece,
Okay.
even two pieces,
Okay.
would do that. And
So
what
this was
happened-
like that print twist side.
Yes, print was one who made an offer to us that they will buy us out at 11 million. We thought that we are a billion plus. No, because buy.com without anything was billion. तो हमको लगता था हमारा भी तो बिलियन होना ही चाहिए, right? So that is how it started. And then because of this bust happened, buy.com became no buy.com. And it was tough for them. And then eventually one day I received an order for 5 t-shirts. And I realized that this order which has come on the web is from a company called TCA. And t-shirt के लिए, with something to be printed on the t-shirt. I started thinking that अगर ये 5 t-shirt इस कंपनी से मिल सकता है, तो कितनी कंपनीज हैं उनसे क्या क्या मिल सकता है? And I changed my model from a pure B2C to B2B. It was huge uproar. I had a lot of consultants leaving me because they did not want to be part of it. They thought that like it's a waste of time. He's on online, he's doing offline here in India में. You know, India में people सोचते हैं कि क्या कर रहा है? Why is he changing? People don't love change. I'm saying those days entrepreneurship was not celebrated, Akshay, as it is celebrated today. So in India, if you really look at it, there are 2 things which are like really celebrated. One is festivals. Second is success. Nothing else ever gets celebrated in India. I was coming from an environment in the US where failure was also celebrated, right? Failure was also said, you have failed in this, please come and join us because you would have learned a lot, right? That's how it started with us. And slowly, steadily, I grew from first year about 72 lakhs in revenue. Next year, I did about 3 times that revenue, then doubled the next year and went on and did very good. And we became the first company in India to be organized. So today you have a lot of big companies, but I moved the model to B2B and then figured out that this is something which I have to do in a deep manner. And what I have to do is ensure that I am able to service companies better, right? So what happened is then Accenture happened. So today I'm not under contract from them. Otherwise it's very difficult to speak. But we had NDA and other stuff with them those years for Yantra. And we built the first model, which was a net-based merchandising portal. Oh, great. I tell you, Accenture is a phenomenal company. They thought way ahead and we also thought a way ahead, right? So we matched very well. And I set up something called a smart buy portal where companies from all over Accenture could come in and order stuff. And
so like
there
t-shirts, pens with an Accenture.
bags, yes, t-shirts, bags, diaries, mugs, frames, trophies, anything you name it, right? Anything you name it. And then from there, my journey slowly moved. I started doing brand stores. Then NASCOM, I got in touch with NASCOM.
What do you mean?
NASCOM
You started doing brand stores?
So what happened is now B2B Akshay and B2B, because we had started, lot of companies said, now I have a branch in Bangalore, I have a branch in Pune. Like that, I have like 25 branches. Now, either you set up store in all the 25 branches. That is one. Or you please go ahead and give us a centralized access where all these branches can come in and buy stuff. My exposure of earlier doing website, I already was really good at it. Quickly set up the entire system where they could even track as to where is their order. I was able to put that you have placed an order, you have this quantity, this is getting dispatched this day, it would reach. People were happy means happy.
So,
In
for
India-
example, ICICI Bank would have a like a company account with the Yantra, and then each branch manager could log in into the
Yes.
Yantra, place an
Yes.
order for his branch and track the
Yes.
order. And
Correct. So like all of this means all of this, we went ahead and we did like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H kind of stuff. And then for hundreds of companies, means overall about
give me some
5
numbers also, like what kind of traction, like
we had huge, means huge traction. The company we raised our first round of capital in 2008. And that was when I was the founding investor for Loyalty Rewards. So the company called Loyalty Rewards, which eventually was sold to BillDesk for a amount of money, was founded by a guy called Vijay Jayarajan, and I was the founding investor. Now, at that point of time, we were about 60 odd crores in revenue.
and you did not need external funding for this because this was
Highly profitable. Highly profitable business. Highly means highly.
there was no need to do cash burn to acquire customers. Like
Mine is a beautiful model, Akshay. I acquired customers those days at negative paisa. They would pay me to acquire them because see, I have gone to the company. I will charge the company for setting up a brand store, and then they will direct all their employees to buy merchandise from there, and I would make money.
wow, amazing. The ICICI store you would charge ICICI for, and ICICI is just an example here, but
Correct.
charge ICICI
Yes.
to set up
Yes.
a portal where ICICI employees can log in, place orders for
Yes,
t-shirts or
absolutely.
diaries or
Absolutely. And that is what happened and which helped me build up more and more business, Akshay. And from there, I never saw back. From 91 onwards, God willing, worked harder and very hard.
It's interesting how life comes full circle. Your first business was selling t-shirts and you went back to that in a way.
Absolutely means absolutely. That is what I feel when I say that you would have laughed at me for saying that would you sell gifts or merchandise? But life had its own circle. It came full circle when from selling t-shirts back to selling t-shirts. And this journey continued till about 2014. We raised multiple rounds.
One quick question. How did you manage the supplies of it? Did you have in-house printers or were you working with vendors to do the fulfillment? Like how did you manage fulfillment?
Sure. So in the initial stage, of course, I had vendors, but then I set up a state-of-art 50,000 square feet, our own facility, which could do embroidery, printing, decoration of any kind, right? And Akshay, that time, you will not believe, world's largest company in merchandising was a company called Polyconcept. Polyconcept came to India, saw us and said and told our investors that we have not seen a company of this size, this level and this thinking all over Asia. We have been to every country, including China, but here is where we are seeing huge. We have not seen scale like this anywhere else, which was also one way very fulfilling for me. And I realized that we have built a good business. Then in 2011 is when I was again thinking ahead. I was seeing a lot of competition coming from Flipkart where they would give huge discounts. Whether Snapdeal, whether Flipkart, and there were like a lot of other.
They were not competing with you. They wouldn't print Accenture's name on a diary and send it out.
I absolutely agree with you that they would not do that. Only thing they would do is they will show the t-shirt at half the price at which I was selling.
So price discovery, comparison, those things would put pressure on your margins.
Completely. Means we just, in a matter of span, I would say, it became so difficult because by then internet was everywhere. People were able to check the prices. So price discovery was there. And one of your major strengths was that the ability for you to price. So pricing moved from your hand into the customer's hands. Once it moved from your hand to customer's hand, we knew that of course it is going to be a little bit tougher, it is going to be tighter and we have to be very careful. And that is when, as I told you, constantly thinking ahead, it was very important for me to see as to what next. And I wanted to build a business on 4 tenets. That is when, while Yantra was highly profitable, doing really well, I still wanted to see ahead. What I saw was that a lot of roadblocks which would come in our way. So we will have to typically, Akshay, become a more lifestyle business than a large conglomerate corporate because of the price discovery being out there everywhere. So because of this problem, what we realized was that we'll have to quickly change tax and see what's scalable. And I want to see, my thought has been to build a very large scalable business. Don't want to build anything which is not really scalable. So from there is where our entire journey started. So that is when I decided that we will build the business. Now, any business from then on, if I have to build, I'll build it on 4 tenets. What were those tenets? A, business has to be global in nature, scalable in nature, tech first, and a business in which we should have some experience. If we don't have any experience in that business, we'll not touch it. I said, oh, this is the tenets I am putting. At least I have some guiding principles on basis of which I will either choose a company or not choose a business or not choose a business. And
So-
then we started.
You were also parallelly thinking of exiting e-Yantra while you were doing
Yes, I had. So in 2008, I had exited a little bit. 2010, I had exited because investors were there. So I had sold some of my stake to investors. And in 2014, when my term ended as MD, in any case, somebody else was supposed to run it. So what happened is that in 2011 itself, I started thinking that I have to do something which possibly
you were still a majority holder after the 2010 sale.
I was still majority in the sense just above majority. Just about majority.
But you had a significant investor.
Significant. And then post that, I sold one more time in 2014. And selling in 2014, I was down to about 17 odd percent. And not too much of, and I had already started Zaggle by then. And Zaggle started becoming, and the whole idea was to build the company basis this 4 tenets. And I saw a huge scope in Zaggle. I realized that.
How did you finalize Zaggle based on these 4 tenets? Just tell me that thought process.
Yeah. So see, the word Zaggle is why haggle when you can Zaggle?
Yeah.
Is the antidote to haggle. Don't haggle, just Zaggle. What was the thought? And from there, our entire premise was build something which is platform agnostic, payment instrument, scalable, usable across industries, and can grow as businesses become digital, can grow very large. So whole concept was digitization. So digitization is sexy today. We thought about digitization about 10 years back.
So you thought of Zaggle as a digital payment tool.
Yes, digital payment instrument company. Network agnostic.
Like what a Paytm would have become.
Absolutely. I would say like Paytm. Paytm is a good example, I would say, because it's also network agnostic and can scale infinitely.
And you thought of doing it as peer-to-peer payments or for
No. So I'll tell you the genesis of it. So while we were doing this merchandising business and it was profitable till the end. So till the end in the sense, till I left. The business was good. And what I was realizing is increasingly these corporates are moving from physical goods to digital vouchers. Now, again, what I saw was power of pricing power moving away from your hand into the hands of the consumer, right? Now they want digital goods. What are digital goods? Digital goods are digital vouchers. Now you have digital vouchers. So if
like
you are doing
Amazon gift cards.
Amazon came in now, but those time it was like all shopper stop vouchers.
Yeah, shopper stop is very popular.
Lifestyle vouchers, all of that stuff, right? So what was happening is that those vouchers were becoming more and more popular. And people were saying, don't give me bags, don't give me these phones, don't give me anything, give me a voucher and let my employee, let my channel partner choose the gift which they want to buy, choose the product which they want to buy. And that is how it started, that we started giving them digital. Earlier it was physical vouchers, which was like just printed on a paper, given. And from there, so there is where my thought started, that when we would give these vouchers of PVR, give a shopper stop or lifestyle, I am not a consumer. I don't go to PVR. What would happen? the voucher would get somehow wasted, lost, exhausted. And if you see, company would make money on vouchers which are not redeemed, but the user is a bad experience. So I said, what can be done? What can possibly be done for this? And we went on to figure out, is there a possibility to launch a digital card which is accepted at select merchants, and can be used at any of these merchants? And here is where our journey started for Zaggle, that we will find an instrument which can replace all these instruments. So that was the quest. And we thought, what is possible? We said Visa. There was no Rupee that time. Visa was a good scheme. We thought Visa would be great to go ahead and build a platform on. So Visa had a tagline called Visa Everywhere. So now if Visa is everywhere, they said, we cannot give you restricted access. That means your card being used only at select merchants. We said, they said, this is not possible. Then we started talking to them, somehow convinced them of our business volumes, told them that this would open a new line of business for them. And our first card was called BOM, which was Box Office Movie Bonanza. So the idea was box office movie bonanza. You please go enjoy a movie, have popcorn, have XYZ, enjoy yourself, get stress free.
And just use this card to pay. The card would be preloaded.
Preloaded card would be prepaid, preloaded. You can go ahead, swipe it for tickets, swipe it for eating at PVR, Inox, XYZ, and wherever Visa is accepted and the category is movies or entertainment, you can use this card. That's how we started. First year, 2012, we did about 4 crores. And
4 crore is the GMV, like the gross
transaction volume and or gross transaction value. And we do about between 10 to 13,000 crores now.
Wow. And your earning would be like maybe 50 basis points or something like that.
Our earning, we would get about 2% plus some inactivity fee plus some commissions. Like that is what we get.
But 2% is the total fee. The bank would take some and...
So total fees 2.20 inclusive of GST, because ours is a corporate bill. And out of which there is a bank fee, which is there is a network fee, which is done. And then eventually we'll get something like 1.8 or so back into our pockets. Yeah.
Now, you would also need a bank to issue these cards, right? Visa was one part of the equation.
Yes, Visa was one part of it. Along with Visa, we went ahead and did the bank. The first bank was called RBL Bank. We did IndusInd, we did Yes. We did a lot of other banks. Then we got a processor called Yella Manchini Software Exports Company. Basically a card management system plus a switch attached to it, which goes to Visa, which talks to Visa and is done like that. That's how, overall this picture is built.
This first year when you did 4 crore, which year was this?
It was 2012.
2012. So this would have been as a part of eYantra only, or did you set it up as a separate?
So we had set up Zaggle as a separate company. And this was like turnover which was in Zaggle, and we started building up. eYantra was doing the same business of merchandise as they were doing, and they had brand stores, merchandising, all of that stuff, office supplies, anything the enterprise wanted, they did, except facilities management. Now, which there was a lot of scope for facilities management as well, but we didn't go there because didn't want to dilute. And margins in any case were much, much better in merchandising than in office supplies or in facilities. And Zaggle from there on started. I formally joined Zaggle in 2016. And
when you stepped down from eYantra?
I stepped out in 2014 from eYantra. Then was figuring out what else to do. Show is Citibank, and he had joined me in 2012. He was the CEO and MD of the company. So he was the one who was running it. I joined in 2016 for about 4-6 months. And then again left the company and started a blockchain company called Zag Network, Zag Protocol or Zag Network as it is called today. And it was a blockchain DeFi company based out of San Francisco with office in Singapore. So I ran that for 2 years, sold it. Ram was another guy who wanted to get into blockchain space. I wanted to come back again to India. And that's how we sold that company to
Yeah, but what was Zag Network? Was it like a
blockchain company, basically in the trade finance DeFi space, decentralized finance space. And it would, so let's say, for example, any card issued by any company. Now you have a card issued in US and the card is issued for, let's say, XYZ dollars. Now you want to use that card in India. Using our tech, you would be able to do that. We will convert your US card into Indian rupees and allow the merchant to settle it. And then we created a wallet for the merchant in India, wallet for the merchant in US, like that. And it was not too much in cryptocurrency, where we didn't have any cryptocurrency attached to it.
this was more like a centralized blockchain, basically.
Yes,
It was not
decentralized blockchain. They totally decentralized. That means you can do the settlement anywhere. It would be in India, it would be in the US, it would be anywhere. And that's how we started. It was doing very well. There was a lot of large merchants like Tim Hortons or Starbucks or some of these companies which wanted to try that out. And it would have been great if we would have continued, if I had continued in that business, but I had to come back to.
So this was basically solving for cross-border payments use case.
This was solving for cross-border payments. This was solving for redeemed money, the money which is not. So let's say in a card, when you use the card and there is 20, 40, 50 rupees left in the card, what do? You have no use, you throw the card. We were aggregating all of that and said, you might have received XYZ cards. So now you want to use this card in Macy's in the US. So I'll give you a Macy's card. So you could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 10 merchants cards and you wanted one single merchant card. I could do that also. Anything and everything was possible because we had created a marketplace. We had created the opportunity for anybody to be able to trade. And this is how and it was all on blockchain. So there was trust. Everybody could see the node. And we were also building something. We did one project with NPCI for trade finance, which was fantastic. I think blockchain is a very exciting technology and we would love to explore more now in Zaggle. Came back to Zaggle late 2018, 2019.
And, just tell me Zaggle's journey from that 4 crore, like what was the year-on-year GTV that, and so it remained in this space of cards. Like basically this was an employee expense card, right? Like a replacement to Sodexo, something like that.
No, so this happened much later. This happened in the year 2018-19.
The replacement to Sodexo, the visas.
Replacement to Sodexo. So we have disrupted the market now. Now, if you really look at it, these are all old age. Now we are way, way far ahead in terms of technology. As I said, the 4 tenets: global, scalable, technology, tech first, and some experience. So we had the experience of merchandising physical goods. So this was digital goods. And the first 3 were there. So what we started was from 4 crores. The second year was
from 14 to 18. What was it? I'm not clear on that.
18, I think we did about 650 crores.
But what was it? What was the business? 14 to 18.
14 to 18 was
the business that you explained was essentially launched in 18, right?
The business which I explained now is launched in 2018. Before that, it was basically prepaid cards. So we would do a card for jewelry. So it is called a jewelry card. So a lot of enterprises who give gold to their employees or their channel partners had this problem that there would be a lot of leakage, pilferage in the system. So I'll give you a card which will only work in jewelers. So be it TBC, be it any jeweler you take, Khazana, PCBC, everybody, it will work at all jewelry shops and we would restrict it by MCC.
But this was with that RBL and Visa.
Yes, RBL and partly IndusInd also.
So what changed in 18? It sounds the same thing only?
No, so what happened is in 18, we took a decision that we will concentrate on technology first. So while we are great, we are very good, we are selling very nice, distribution is fantastic, but we would ideally want to become more technology oriented players. And that's how we started being more technology oriented and started building software in front of the card. So our focus moved to that we will have only two things. One is software. The other is a payment instrument. So software plus payment instrument is equal to Zaggle. So wherever you think software plus a card can be put, we would be there.
Give me examples of some use cases.
Yes. So take the example of office supplies. Today you do office supplies. What happens? Something or the other is always short in the office. You want a bundle of papers, it's not there. Today, if you call somebody for 1, 2, 3, 5 pieces of bundles, nobody would come and give it to you. Either he should have the full contract or he would say buy it at the market price. Today, looking at the efficiency, people just go, they have a software which is put in with, through which they can choose number of vendors, directly order whatever they want and use this payment instrument to make the payment instantaneously. We have made it completely seamless. Now you don't have to think. You have to just see already all workflows, approvals, whatever hierarchy, cost centers, everything has been made in technology. And we are able to very quickly do this and close it out.
So essentially like a admin person typically would not be able to place orders. He would create a purchase order. The purchase order would go to finance department. Finance department would clear the payment. That whole process of purchase order, finance approval, finance payment is getting digitized.
Yes.
Where the admin person has a payment instrument, which is locked to only those things which he's approved to spend on. And he can just directly pay the vendor. It doesn't need to go to finance. Purchase order.
Absolutely. It will have business rules where it will tell you that if it is Akshay, he is allowed to spend so much money for these purposes and it is all set. So there is no waiting. So look at how efficiency is coming in. Imagine I had to go through multiple. So this is bringing in discipline in finance, discipline in ordering, discipline in receiving reports, improving efficiency, improving productivity all across. So
it's completely cutting off the handoffs. Like otherwise, the admin guy would do a handoff to, and maybe you would hand off to procurement. Procurement would make PO. They would hand off to finance. Finance would make some sort of a payment, whatever terms decided, and then it would go back to the admin person. So all those handoffs are getting digitized.
I'm so glad you explained it much better than precisely. This is what we do, improve, increase, and the efficiency, the time taken, productivity. Overall, it is a breeze when you look at the software. So we started first implementing it in the marketing department. So all the rewards we digitized. Now we give them a software. They can onboard all their dealers, that it is integrated to their ERP, which will read how much material is sold, which SKU has got sold. Depending on that, the reward is decided. Post that, automatically all the payments are settled. Imagine
issue the card or it's like a virtual card.
We have if they want a physical card, we can give them, but we prefer a virtual card because cost is less. Yeah, more scalable, cost is less, and it is much, much easier for anybody to do it. So that's the process which we are doing today. We started with marketing. We said because all the rewards.
Just to understand this better, so each dealer would get like a proper 16-digit card number.
Yes,
with a CVV, which would be linked to a bank and a Visa.
Yes. We'll get a typical prepaid, or what do you call today, how you have a credit card, right? So very similar credit card.
Except that there's no plastic here. It's just the 16-digit, which is what he needs to enter.
It is virtual, and if he wants physical, he can just opt for physical. And what happened is with that particular thing, we were able to start ramping up very fast. Right? And in 2020, when if you see COVID hit, we thought our business will go for a hard toss. And we were like,
because they were dependent on sales. Like trade promotion was where the maximum.
Yes, trade promotion. One was employee rewards. The other was channel rewards and channel incentives. And then the third thing was that we were yet not fully there, but we were looking at meal reimbursements.
Like a
Uh,
Sodexo replacement.
So and all of that, right? We were looking at tax reimbursements. It could be some other kind of
Tax,
reimbursement.
what is tax reimbursement?
So what happens is for some of these companies today, if you look at it in GST, you today swipe the card at a hotel. At the hotel, you are not giving your company's GST number to the hotel guy. So hotel guy, when he is making the bill, he's making the bill and giving it to you, and he is filing his GST. Your company is not able to get the credit. Right? So what has happened is effectively you have lost so much of credit in the process that your employee has not used your company's GST. Then we started integrating. So there are three main drivers for this entire digitization. One is demonetization, which happened. Second was GST, which again happened. And the third was COVID. So these three triggers, as you may call earthquake, tsunami, and storm, is how they were there, and this changed everything. Everything means everything for the entire Indian economy. Today,
help me understand that the GST, that we did finish that thread. How does the hotel get the company's GST then?
So what happens is if you go to our app, so if you are, let's say, you are belonging to Microsoft, you can, in the app, Microsoft GST number would be already loaded. So when you make the payment, you just tell them that I'm making the booking from this company, from the company app, and already the information which gets transferred there would be with the GST number. Other is, in case you are making it outside of the app, you still have the GST number handy that you are able to tell them that this is my GST number. It helps save so much of time.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And with this happened, then a lot of reimbursements were there. Like, for example, children's books or XYZ, I spent on fuel, I spent on mobile, I spent on something else.
Yeah. Travel or taking clients out for a meal.
Yeah, taking clients out. So I need to get a reimbursement. So we built in a full-fledged software suite. So our philosophy again was software plus payment instrument. So wherever we could marry these two is how we moved. So we moved from a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, or a Chief Sales Officer, to we moved to CHRO to CFO, CFO now to CPO, which is Chief Procurement Officer. Right? So that's how we have moved in this last few years from a CMO to PPO. And eventually, if you look at it, we would go and cover the corporate market 360.
I have some more clarification I need.
Yes.
Say this Microsoft employee took out clients for a dinner. So he would need a physical card, right? He could have a physical card. He could have a digital card. Would you pay with a digital card in a restaurant?
Today, if you look at most of these companies, right? Most of the restaurants today have either a QR code,
Which would be UPIs, right?
UPI. You can say from the card, you could move money. From the card, you could actually do a QR code payment. So cards are able to read yours. Because see, everything is becoming seamless today. There is no issue, no problem in today making a payment and then moving it to bank also is possible.
Say if they have, let's say, a Bharat Pay QR code or...
They have a Bharat Pay QR code, right? And our system, our card would be able to read Bharat QR and make the payment. That is how that, because see, if you look at it today, it is 100% portable. That means you are able to port anything to anything. So there is huge so there is no restriction per se. Today, either you use a number or you use a currency note or you use whatever it is digital, most of it. And if they have a physical card, they use the physical card. If it is a digital, they just go. Sometimes they log on to the payment gateway of that particular restaurant or hotel and pay it through that. Or if it is a QR, they pay through QR. If there is more or less, these kind of payments is what they are able to do.
Got it. Now tell me COVID. You said three events which really events, DMON, DST and COVID. Tell me about COVID.
So COVID was March 22nd, 2020. The government announced that we are going to have a complete lockdown. So we were completely unprepared to the highest extent, though we had started virtual cards, and the idea of doing virtual cards was more because of saving costs then to digitize, to be very honest. That was what was our idea. 10-20-25 rupees bachalo is more important than doing anything, right? Now then,
Zaggle was like self-funded or you raised extra?
we had invested some money earlier, but more or less it was self-funded and debt-funded, I would say. So there was debt, but otherwise more or less a beautiful, most capital efficient build company. Of course, not by choice, but by chance. That is how it has happened.
I think you already, essentially, you didn't need to burn for customer acquisition. Most companies burn money for customer acquisition. That you didn't have.
Damn right, means on this, that is how it helped us. And when COVID happened, we realized what is it. So everywhere it was that jobs will be lost, this will happen, that will happen. You wouldn't believe what I did, Akshay. First thing I did there along with my senior management team was to sit and we announced a COVID bonus. On March 22nd, the COVID bonus was announced. March 27th, the money was in everybody's account. Either they got cards loaded with money, or if we were not able to reach them with a virtual card or a physical card or some other kind, we transferred the money to their bank account.
Yeah, and why? What was the reason?
The reason was very simply that a lot of them who were possibly coming from not exactly to do families would have issues. They may have to move to their hometowns. They may not come back very fast. So if they have to buy some stuff, so medical expense, anything is there, we announced a bonus to everybody. And the first bonus which was announced was basically to buy all stuff related to work connectivity. So you
better Wi-Fi.
Yes, get a Wi-Fi, get a router, you want a router. We gave everybody laptops. So in a span of about, I would say, 60 hours, we were able to laptop everybody. Everybody means everybody. And it was good. It was all, again, thinking ahead. We were able to do this beautifully. And because we announced bonus, what happened is a lot of people who thought whether their jobs will be there or not were stunned. They said, wow, here is a company which is already thinking of us for future and paying us the money in advance, giving us a bonus in advance and thinking about us. So that lifted the morale of the company a lot. That time we were like about 150 odd people, and it was like super great for us. And that created a lot of positivity in and around. And that helped us to, then the second challenge was, suddenly we saw that some of these companies were asking for demos on Saturdays and Sundays as well. That companies who didn't work on Friday to Monday started working on Saturday and Sunday and say that we want demo. You were in touch with us 3 months back. Why don't you give? And suddenly we were doing about 40 to 60 to 100 demos a day. So anybody you will call your colleague, they'll say, sorry, we are busy in a demo. Sorry, we are busy in a demo. Sorry, we are busy. And we started, our conversion ratio went up beautifully from let's say 10-15% to upwards of 40%. If we touched, let's say 100 clients, eventual conversion would be about 35 to 40 clients, which was great for us. Great means great for us. And that happened because people realized that why were we postponing digital? There was everything suddenly is becoming digital. People had worries, no work from home, will not allow work from home. Now everybody was forced to work from home. See, something which was like a mind block earlier, that work from home, what would they be doing? And today you said everybody has to work from home. Wait, imagine the difference what happened. And that helped us a lot. Big win for us. The tailwinds still today are extremely strong. And this in turn is eventually going to digitize entire India. And that is what I see.
For a company, it is zero cost digitization. They don't need to pay anything.
They need not pay anything. It is pay per use, as you onboard users, you pay as you use. You pay.
You're not really paying anything. That interchange fees is being borne by the.
We charge for the software. We charge them a fee for per user and platform. Why should we lose out on that opportunity to make money? That's why we are highly profitable. Now, we are one of the very few fintech companies in India which is profitable. I would say world over which is profitable.
So, what do you charge for like
99 rupees per user per month.
So one user equals one virtual card, basically.
Yeah, no. So because we give the software, card is a separate instrument. Software for them to do this entire workflows, all of that is the software.
Oh, got it. Cool. What is the way in which you do your lead generation? Like you said, 100 companies that you give a demo to, 40 will convert. So where are those 100 companies coming from? Is it a feet on street sales force or is it Google Ads, SEO?
So I would say part digital, part inside sales, and part feet on street. Combination of all these three.
What is the size of companies that you target? Like large enterprises?
We have less than 250, more than 250. Less than 250 is all digital, no physical thing given. Above 250 is digital. Yeah, digital, as well as if they want us to go and visit them physically, we'll do that.
Basically, they get a dedicated account manager if it is.
Yeah, they will get a dedicated account manager, a support manager, a customer success support guy is how they would get. And once they get a customer success manager, any queries if they have, we'll be able to do.
I read somewhere that you are planning to do an IPO.
Just to be very candid with you, we are looking at various sources. Now we are exploring various possibilities of raising money. And one of the ways is IPO. And IPO has been a great, opportunity to share the wealth with shareholders. And good thing for us is that we have so many of these companies who are already our customers. And it will be a great opportunity for them to actually see their company whom they use listed on the market. We are not really, to be very candid, it's not that we have filed the DRHP, but we are exploring the options.
One of the options on the table.
One of the options.
So why do you need funds?
No, you have a very good question. Profitable company, fintech company, and why do we need funds? The reason of fund requirement is basically to cater to geographical expansion. Second is on the product per se. We want to take the product to the next level. Then we are also launching a credit card very soon. For the launch of the credit card and actually to put that product out in the market, we possibly may require some interim funding. And that's the reason that we are looking at funds.
So the next step in your roadmap is to do a neobank for enterprises.
Absolutely. We will become a full-fledged digital bank. And I'm telling you, digital bank licenses will be thrown open, subject to some conditions very soon. RBI, to be very honest, is doing a phenomenal job. So in my opinion, when I look at RBI, I see a startup. Because the way they are thinking and the number of actions which they have taken in the last few months and years is phenomenal. Account aggregator, improving prepaid, allowing credit card now, NBFC to issue credit cards. Who said you can't take credit? Is I am giving you money. It's not that I'm taking money from you. I'm giving you money. Why should you stop me from giving you money? Just think about it. Today, I want to give money to Akshay, right? Why should anybody interfere in that process? And for what? For what? The question is, if they say that you will give money and then you will exploit them, exploitation happens because concentration happens. If concentration does not happen, exploitation will not happen. Right? So as we democratize, that much power you are spreading. And that is what blockchain said, that the number of nodes you have, it's a completely distributed ledger technology. And that is what would help you not allow any bad apples to corrupt or game the system. So think about 5 years down the road. Now I know Akshay, I know what he spends. I tell you, Akshay, do not worry about money. Do not worry about money. Whatever you are getting, I'll give you 10% extra. Just allow me to use you, of course, with all your approvals, to use the money efficient. Oh, Akshay has a limit. Akshay wants to move the bank. Akshay is unable to move the banks. We'll get Akshay much better rate from some other bank. Now, he has to pay EMI for the car. We will get the best insurer, best EMI guy to give him a much better rate. Allow us. How do we call? If you really ask me, Akshay, it is the freedom days. It is today we are struggling to get freedom from finance. Ultimately, the world has to move to FOR. The freedom of finance is going to be the new buzzword in coming year.
This is again life coming full circle. What you were doing with SSL, you were collecting number of checks with a lot of HNIs and then negotiating. That gave you like that bargaining power and negotiation power to give them better returns.
Yes. Very well put. I actually missed it. Thank you. Now I remember this absolutely fantastic. Yeah. This is the moment you are able to do that. And these are not like, I'll send it to you, I'll send you to Mars. It is something which you can see it happen right now, right in few days. All, the government has to do is to trust the fintech.
What I love about what you're planning to do with the card is that these traditional credit cards have some rewards which are hardly relevant for me. But if I was to get a card which would tell me on your Google Suite subscription, you can get a lower price.
Yes,
and because you know where I'm spending my money, so you could actually optimize for what kind of rewards I get.
Correct.
That would be a pretty massive unlock.
Absolutely. See, I am a simple thing here. You look at two concepts, and one is you are marrying banking to accounting. You are marrying commerce to finance, right? So you are doing commerce and you are doing finance. You are marrying both of them and telling them that I will get you the same service at a cheaper price because I have the ability to aggregate, right? So the aggregation business is a huge business. And that is what freedom of finance will give you this ability to trade.
This would not really be a consumer card, right? The focus would be helping businesses.
To be very honest, it is going to be a business card and eventually we'll launch a consumer card. And what we'll do in the consumer card, you will be shocked. So we have a plan. We are working on the plan, and in some time or the other, we will be able to bring it out very quickly. And we'll tell you what on the consumer card, you will be able to do way too many things here, way too many things.
This credit card would also support UPI payments? Like you can scan a QR code?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is given today. That is what you call par for the course is how it is.
So, like my ICI bank, that doesn't support UPI. Like I have to use my account balance if I want to make a UPI payment instead of using my credit limit to make a UPI payment.
That depends on, which processor you are using. If you are using a processor who supports that system, it would be so you can easily do. See, today they say, look at the system here. But today if I have to make a GST payment, they say, no, you cannot make by credit card. Why can't I make it by credit card? You know what? You will take 1% on government payments. It is 10 rupees or 15 rupees or XYZ. Allow. Give more credit. Bring more money into circulation. Create that circular economy where you are able to create more money. Use the Keynesian theory of money supply. Right? The H square theory is what we have to put in. We have to go back to the basic fundamentals for the first principles. How do you do a better underwriting? Better underwriting means you need to get better indicators. How do you get better indicators? Availability of information. How do you get the availability of information?
Can you tell me what is your current revenue number and can you share some numbers on that?
So my current revenue numbers for this year, March ending would be anywhere between 350 to 400 crores.
Okay. This is not GTV. This is your own earning.
No, this is net revenue. We don't count GTV. GTV does not matter to us. So
yeah, that's a vanity.
That's vanity. So we take net revenue. Net revenue is like whatever interchange we get is what we take. And we have what you call about 2,000 odd active customers with us. Then the third thing I would say is that we are recently, this is our third year of profitability. And we are hitting roughly about 50 crores, give or take a couple of crores of crores of EBITDA is how I would say what we have done. And all this with very little debt and very little equity. Imagine what we can do with growth capital. And that is why what we are taking now is growth capital, either through PE or private equity or IPO. The whole idea is to open the shackles for the rocket to launch.
And African expansion that you want to do, you want to go outside India? Like you want to go to Middle East or you want to go to the West?
See, what I get here, 99 rupees in India, I will get 999 in the US. The only thing is we have to adopt to the market. Act Romans in Rome is how we have to go. So we have to just do a little bit quickly, spend some time, acclimatize ourselves in the US. And then I think we are good to go. We have good software. We have good ability. We have a decent understanding of the market. So just that we have to dig in and work harder and harder to be able to create an impact on any market for that matter.
US has a very mature fintech market. You would probably have to do a lot of cash burn to acquire customers there.
See, very tough to answer, to be very candid. Akshay. If you really look at it, it is a really immature market in some sense. And completely old world. Mobile in US, the adoption of mobile is next to negligible in terms of using for financial transactions. So you have to see how you are able to bring in. It's a long journey. It's a hard journey. It's a very evolved market. That I agree with you. It's a highly digital market. So you really wouldn't have so much of scope to create digitization because it's already digital. But there will be some loopholes when we have come till.
Amazing. And that brings us to the end of this conversation. I want to ask you for a favor now. Did you like listening to this show? I'd love to hear your feedback about it. Do you have your own startup ideas? I'd love to hear them. Do you have questions for any of the guests that you heard about in this show? I'd love to get your questions and pass them on to the guests. Write to me at ad@thepodium.in. That's ad@thepodium.in.